Question 2, what impression does the writer create of Emma and Robbie in these lines? 5 marks. Must refer to the language used in the text to support your answer. So I'm going to look at this slightly different. If you want to look at a grade 9 example, have a look at the other videos on my YouTube. I'm going to be looking at writing a grade 5 or grade 6 answer. So what I mean by that is I'm going to look less in massive detail about what the writer said. I'm going to be looking at using as many quotes as possible. So key info about the impressions questions. It will ask you about writer's method and technique. It can be question 2, 3 or 4, so that means it can be worth 5 or 10. Use as many quotes as you can. If it's a 5 mark question, spend 5 or 6 minutes on it. If it's a 10 mark question, spend 13 to 15 minutes on it. So impressions, what do you mean by impressions? So basically impressions means the kind of view you might have the place or person when you read what is said about them. So example impressions could be, I thought the character was happy or brave or scared or competitive or negative or selfish. So if we look at this sentence, they whispered as my cheeks went red. If we just zoomed into they whispered, what impression would we get about them? It says they, so it's probably 1 or 2 people. What impression would we get of whisper? Well, if someone's whispering, it probably will tell the reader that the characters are secretive about something. Yeah, there's something they don't want other people to hear. And if we look at the red, as my cheeks went red, what would that tell me about the character? Well, it might tell me they are embarrassed. Yeah, so it's a sign that the character is embarrassed. There you go. So just from those 2 little quotes, not even a sentence really, half a sentence each, I've got 2 impressions about the characters in the text. Let's look at another one. Scrooge smiled as he closed the door on the last guest to leave the party. So what does that impression give? What example point can we make? Well, if he smiled as he closed the door, we might get the impression that he liked to be alone. Another one. So this is from Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. What impression of Mandalay do you get from this quote? Peering closer through the rusted spokes of the gate. So what could I say if I looked at gates? If I put that into my head, what could I say about Mandalay if it's got rusted gates? Well, one point I could make is the fact that the spokes are rusted could suggest the house may have been empty for some time. So I'm picking out a quote and just saying what it tells me about the character or place. So here we go then. What impressions did the writer create of Emma and Robbie? 5 marks. Remember, 5 marks, we're looking at 5 or 6 quotes. But more so, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes for this question. Just do as many quotes as you can, okay? So have a read of that yourself. Pause the video if you want to, and then we'll talk about it. So you need to pick out 5 or 6 quotes that show what kind of people Emma and Robbie are. So the quotes I'd pick out would be, he was 20 years older than her. So Emma went for someone 20 years older than her. Maybe that tells us she's a bit maverick. She doesn't play by the rules. She doesn't care what society thinks. Emma mistook it for shyness, so she mistook his grumpiness for shyness. We could say that she felt, even though she loved him, she did like some time apart. She's physically adventurous. She would climb up cliffs. And then for Robbie, we could have, he's well known for his grumpiness. He would stare at the house and sulk. So we're going to look at those quotes and say, what does that tell us about the characters? So structuring your grade 5 mark answer. So remember, I'm looking for 4 or 5 out of 5 on this question. So link to the question, as in tell the examiner what impression you've picked up. Give your quote and say what impression you get. Use 5 or 6 quotes. Do not write long PEs. The way you're going to get your grade 5, your grade 6 is you don't want to write really, really long PEs and maybe only talk about 1 quote. You want to write really short answers, but about as many quotes as possible. So we want 5 or 6 points in quotes, not 1 or 2 huge PEs. So example point, one impression I get of Robbie is he's immature as he sulks when Emma leaves. Okay, when he leaves them alone. So let's look at this. This will get a mark as a student has given their opinion about Robbie, i.e. he's immature, and he's backed up with a quote to prove that. So this person linked the verb or linked the word sulk to acting like a child. Remember, if you know the word, if you know it's a verb, you can say it is. I would say don't bother. If you're looking for a grade 5, grade 6, just say you can link the word sulk. Yeah. So in my point here, I've not even put the word sulk or the verb sulk. I've just given my quote. So here's some more for this question. The writer shows her to be naive. So each of these will give me an impression and then a quote to back it up. The writer shows her to be naive as she mistakes grumpiness for shyness. We see she's not bothered about society norms as she is dating someone 20 years older than her. She may not be in his love as she thinks, as she needs some time apart from him. Look how I put 2 quotes in there. The writer calls her physically adventurous and a bit of a daredevil as she would climb up the cliffs. So my impression is she's a daredevil, and I've given 2 quotes to back that up. Robbie is shown as immature as he sulks. I've moved on to him now. So Robbie is shown as immature as he sulks when Emma leaves. And Robbie may be unhappy as he's known for his grumpiness, and he prefers to stay at the house rather than sort of go and have fun and explore with Emma. So if you look at it, the main things I'm doing are, I'm not going into big detail, but I'm giving lots of quotes. The examiner always talks about coverage, and that basically means making sure you do as many quotes as possible. So in this here, in these points here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 quotes. 9 quotes, and the examiner would give me 5 out of 5 pretty easily for that. I've shown the examiner, I've read the whole section that the question's answered for, and I've given my impressions of both characters and backed it up with quotes. Okay, so if we look at, this is a student example, this one got 2 marks, and if you actually read it, it's not that bad. They've given some good points. However, it's only worth 3. They've only given 3 quotes. So remember, if this person would have done the same level of quality of answers, but have given 7 quotes, they might have got 5 out of 5. So it's all to do with quotes. This person's only got 3 quotes, so they've only been given 2 marks. This one got 5 out of 5, and it's got 8 quotes. So straight away, please look at the difference. This one, 2 marks. This one got 5 marks. This one, 2 marks with 3 quotes. This one had 8 quotes, so it's got 5 marks. If you actually look at the answers, they're not too different. But just because this person is given a lot of quotes, it's got a better mark. If you look at the red writing, which is what the examiner said, they've said detailed, well-chosen support. Okay, so that is basically saying that they've picked out the right quotes.